Welcome back to Wild Speculation. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 117, The Tortoise and the Dare, or Pies of Nine.
Yes. Pies of Nine. I jokingly said with the N-E-I-N that's going to be the next Slayer's cake.
Yeah, you're probably right.
When Jester opens her pastry shop,
yep,
it'll be the Pies of Nine.
Yeah. I thought Matt did a very good job of illustrating that evolution is evil.
Yeah, definitely not the Angelus type thing that I was thinking.
And sort of laid the groundwork that Vess is the good guy. See, I got kind of Constantine, or, name your warlock reformation
maybe
story. Because he called her a traitor, said that she lied, and confirmed that she tried to destroy him.
Yes. But does that make her the good guy, or does that make her just the backstabbing other evil guy?
Because she got rid of the Briarwoods, I have to lean towards she's actually kind of a good guy.
Like a magical Punisher?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
I think sort of like Bo, she's willing to talk to this person because they seem to have information on something that the Cobalt Soul has none.
Yeah.
The Nonagon, the Eyes of Nine.
Yeah.
So I think she makes contact with this person, sees their tome, steals it, performs the ritual to give herself the eyes.
Right.
Because he said she misunderstood that she misunderstood what was in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to believe she is not the evil turning on the evil.
Okay. You can see that. Yeah, a couple of things like that stood out to me in those conversations was one, Lucian said that Molly, or what became Molly, was a part of him.
Yeah.
But wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
That his soul had been shattered, split into pieces like confetti.
Yeah.
But the conversation that really struck me was the one between Caduceus and Kree. It was all Kree.
How do you know you put it back together, right?
Yeah, how do you know you know, he's like, did you dig him up or did he come to you? Well, I heard the vessel was available, so I went to see if I could. Are you sure you put them back together right? So far, so good.
Yeah.
And then later, Cad makes the point, as, an unaffiliated, I wasn't there for any of it, I don't know any of it. The fact that 6 people are willing to go through all this danger for what was a part of you should make for some questions, that you don't seem to care about. And so do you think, like, his soul was kind of like a starfish? One piece got cut off and became a whole thing?
No. I think this gets back to sort of the incremental soul or pieces of a soul that you can sort of deal with devils with and
gotcha.
That kind of thing. I think it was just she didn't outright destroy his body completely.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't kill him and then go to wherever it is he was going to go in the afterlife and destroy his soul there. She did something different as a lazy way out, I think. Or she also misunderstood that in the book and did it wrong.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from that conversation with Lucian, two things. You felt for that empty speck was the big one, and then your friend is gone.
Right.
And like when he's talking about the Eyes of Nine and Caleb is interrogating him about it, I got very much like he came across as I was promised I would be eaten last. Kind of that's the vibe I got.
Gotcha. The other thing, I was looking back at different things with Molly this week, and I don't know why it didn't dawn on me way back then. It may have, I don't really remember. But is Lucian Jorhassian? Reason I ask is because we're looking at souls and coming back and stuff, but this could be it's not full circle back to how the beacons work, but beacon adjacent. And the fact that back when they were hunting the devil toad, Molly makes a religion check, and Matt's response is not that you read it in a book or this, but they're from Jorhas because you have a memory of it that you shouldn't have, and you don't know why you have the memory. He makes it specifically clear that it's a memory that he shouldn't have, but he does have. And that's why he knows they're from Jorhas.
Yeah. I mean, they found Yasha.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know what exactly that would mean.
I don't know, but it could play something with Essek upcoming.
Oh, that Essek might recognize him?
Recognize him.
Because there's an APB out on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that Essek knew Lucian. Lucian never went to Jorhas with them.
That's true. And if he's up here in the north, Tomb Takers have been working in the north.
Yeah.
Yeah. Possible.
So.
We also, speaking of the Tomb Takers, we got an idea of who they are.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's a halfling. I peg as a rogue.
Right, which we mentioned, was probably a...
Yeah. Wielding a crossbow and leather armor.
Yep.
A Goliath with a maul.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that one's the ranger.
Yeah, I can see that.
Rangers get martial weapons, so the maul's totally possible. And the Goliath, what we've seen of Goliath culture in Exandria, tend to barbarian, druid,
wilderness type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the human I peg as a fighter.
Okay.
They're in a breastplate and using a sword and board.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a paladin, but no one else. Well, no one else had a necklace like Kree, but there was no description of holy symbols.
Yeah.
Or anything. So that's why I tend to be not.
He is probably a fighter. If he's not a fighter, I would not guess paladin. I would guess another blood hunter. Just because of the whole Claret Order background of the Tomb Takers with Molly and Kree.
Mm.
Before I would guess Paladin anyway, but I think he's a fighter. And we'll get into it later when I go into my speculations about what they'll come up against. But I think there's a reason why it's a low magic party.
We got a peek behind the mechanics of the magic misfire.
Yes, and that's not necessarily why.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to touch on that kind of made me smile was Lucian, when Caleb asks, "Are you a servant?" He's like, "That's not the right word," and he says, "More of a student or a representative."
Yeah,
I was like, that sounds an awful lot like an apostle.
Yeah, apostle or disciple.
Yeah.
Question: who are the 9 that bequeath the Nonagon? Now, my initial thought was the Arms of the Betrayer bringing in those intelligent weapons, but there's only 8 of those, so it's not them. Travis did ask how many Betrayer gods there are, and there are now 9, but I don't think that's correct either.
I don't think so either.
The reason I don't think that's correct is because who was the Nonagon before? Oh, there wasn't one for a long, long time, which would be before there was a 9th Betrayer god.
Yeah.
So that's out. And I think that's why Matt smirked and was like, well, let me find out for you. And specifically said as of 20 years ago, because he knows that's a red herring that the players are going to go for.
Yeah. Well, I loved that Travis picked up his player's handbook.
Yes.
To look for the Betrayer gods.
Yes. Well, to be fair, he did open it roughly to the concordance about the gods. Yeah. So he was in the right spot, just not the right world book.
Yeah. Yeah. So the who I think the Eyes of 9 are. I think Caleb might be right.
Okay.
When he mentions that he might be working for ancient Zembians. And I think it is an archmage of each school of magic.
That's my thought. I didn't really go as far as an archmage of each school, but my thought was if the stuff is in Aor and those cities that fell because they were a group of mages bound on taking down the gods, that's probably what it is.
Yeah. One funny thing that I laughed at, and it's because Tim is always trying to monologue. But in this case, Matt's players were trying to get him to monologue, and he wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it just kind of tickled me. Which I think is the best way to monologue, if that makes sense. Get your players to really want the monologue.
Yeah. Because if you don't do that, they end up, hitting you in the face with a bear trap.
Yeah. I also love when they're leaving, and Lucian kicks Vess's body, her head.
Yeah.
I was saving that, and Travis is like, for tea.
No, for a conversation.
Well, the thing is, he's not wrong though.
No.
Caduceus would be saving it for tea.
Yeah.
Bo got some props.
Yeah.
We followed your plan. They got some information but they certainly got enough to prove that Bo was right.
Yeah.
About Vess killing Molly or Lucian.
Yes.
Is that enough? Or, well, it's obviously not enough. I don't know why I was going to ask that question, but it's not enough. One thing still puzzles me.
Okay.
And we've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Caduceus not casting augury?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because the decision they were facing, a binary one,
is a perfect opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a second level spell versus Commune.
Yeah.
Which is a much higher level spell.
Two levels, right?
Yeah.
It's fourth.
Yeah.
Although when he does cast Commune, something very interesting, and because it was noted in the show, and then forgotten about, because he asks if they're going for another crest threshold,
Unclears.
and he even comes to the conclusion they're not just going for crest thresholds. There's other things they're going for, yeah. And then it gets completely dropped for just crest. And it's like, no, you had it right there. And then, both the players and most of the fans, viewers just dropped it. It's just crest thresholds.
Yeah, and which is what I like. The whole interaction, the argument between Caleb and Bo was just beautiful, because it harkened back, for me anyway, harkened back to a couple episodes ago. Caleb says to Beth, look, it was cute when you'd say I was the leader.
Yeah.
I'm not the leader. I don't want to be the leader. And yes, Veth was doing the most arguing for the course of action they ended up taking.
Yeah.
But it was really Caleb's foot, for lack of a better word, coming down that solidified their course of action.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later in the tower, when Jester pulls the card, it's Caleb up. I guess we'll follow the magic. What do you want to do, Caleb?
Yep.
Just like...
And, it goes back to what I've said. Both Caleb and Ford want to be the leader, but neither want to be identified.
It's fair.
They want to, for different reasons. Caleb has this, and it's, they're both evil, so Caleb wants to lead. But he's afraid of what the power's going to do. He's afraid of going full evil.
Yeah.
He's evil trying to fight it. Ford wants the power and stuff, but doesn't want people to think of him as evil. He's the evil trying to pretend he's not evil.
Yeah.
And, and then Bo is just in the middle there.
Yeah. Also, they seem to drop the idea that Vess would owe them a life debt.
Yeah.
And that she might be convinced not to do all this horrible stuff. Like, and this comes back to my view of how Lucian painted Vess in that opening conversation, where before we've been, is she kind of good? Is she kind of bad? She might be exactly like the Mighty Nine.
Yeah.
Where she's done good and bad.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's sort of, I was just like, are we ever going to find a way for them to sympathize with this enough to bring her back? That's my question leading up to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the threshold crest that they are not trying to get, this does lend some credence to the idea, which has been stated in our comment section, that Aor, or that city in the astral sea, might be Aor.
Right.
Or some reflection of it.
Well, it very well could be, because if you remember from Campaign 1, Singorn,
yeah,
the threshold crests are what allowed it to be transported to the Feywild during the Chroma Conclave.
Yeah.
So it's very well possible that threshold crests anchor between a city or something, depending on the scale, between the material plane and another plane.
Right. And it's also possible that the gods blew up all of their access to all of it.
Yeah.
Or that what is in the astral sea is a ghost of the city, basically.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't have any threshold crest.
Yeah. Well, my kind of headcanon where I was thinking with it was like, because we know it fell because of the war with the gods and stuff. Like, if the gods attacked it and it tried to shunt to the astral plane to avoid it, but the damage knocked the threshold cross as it was being transported, it may have ended up there, but because those were broken off, those fell to the ground, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it destroyed it mid-transfer, so the threshold crest ended up staying, but the center of the city shifted.
And there's another possibility, as to get back to what they might be going after, is if the Eyes of Nine are either the actual archmages, their spirits, whatever kind of remnant maybe they are, they may need a piece of each of their crowning achievements of Aor in the construction of that city.
Yeah.
To bring them back.
Yeah.
Or to return to them power or whatever.
Yeah.
In which case, it would be a different school of magic. And the threshold crest they have is conjuration. So it's a matter of what's the next one. They've gotten, the map has 6 sites, right? A1 through 5 and A question mark?
I believe so, yes.
Which leaves, so if each one of those sites is a different school of magic artifact that they have to get, that leaves 3 for the city center. So, of course, that could also be wrong, but
well, my mind went to like Forbidden Island or Forbidden Desert, where you got to find the different pieces to the ship.
Yeah,
and it could be something as they just got to get enough stuff that'll get them there with it, and they can use, because there may still be parts on Aor.
Yeah.
In the astral sea, but not everything to bring it back. And they get there with that stuff, and they can bring them all back, the whole city back. It might be just enough stuff to get it to bring the city back.
That's fair. Although I still don't. I say it's possible, but I don't think that city is Aor. I think it's something else. But we did get a part.
It could be, like the Echo Knight. Something could have happened, and it's an
It's a
echo,
temporal. Oh.
temporal echo of Aor. Which would bring Dunamancy back into the picture.
Yeah. And Lucian did imply to Caleb that messing with time is possible in AR.
Mm-hmm. And also, that would be a big reason why Essek could be up there.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I joked last week about Dagon surviving and whether or not he would.
Right.
And we got two sides of that coin in this episode. The first of which was when they warn him, hey, these guys are coming.
Yeah.
Hide.
Or tell them you're with us.
Yeah. I loved Bo's "we're being gaslit by a dead guy" line. As they were waiting for Caleb to put Vess back in the amber. And then I asked you, hey, is the amber extra dimensional? Because I didn't think it was, but I wasn't sure, and you confirmed for me it's not. So putting it in the bag of holding is not a bad thing. And I loved when Sam is like, I can just cast Levitate on all of us. Nope, it's one creature. Bye!
Yep.
And the anti-life shell with Sacred Flame. Beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Yasha petting Spider Caleb. And I'm gonna eat you. And then there's some debate over whether or not they can catch up, or maybe even keep pace.
Yeah.
With the Tomb Takers. And I found it interesting. This is the first cross-country travel. Matt has not asked them what pace you're setting.
Yeah.
They also haven't discussed the possibility of forced marching to make up that time or what have you. Although arguably they did, Matt just didn't make a con save.
Right.
And really, like, I thought about it and I was like, if you know one instance of this will be enough to get them where they're going, does it matter if they have a level of exhaustion or not, when all they're going to do is go into a long rest?
Yeah.
It's when when the party's flirting with the idea of, okay, how many levels of exhaustion are we going to take to get to where we're going? Because we have to get there. So, like, in my head, that's why he didn't bother making them make the roll. Plus, they all have really good con saves. Do you think Matt is just assuming Dagon is setting a fast pace, and that's why they're rolling every day?
I think that he is assuming that, because despite all the argument about what they should do, in the end they keep saying we're just going to keep following them each time. So he's assuming they're just matching the pace that the Tomb Takers are setting.
Fair.
So,
and they don't seem to be in any particular hurry.
No. And I don't think they are because Bess is dead. So they don't have any real competition for what they are trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because they don't think these yahoos...
One, they don't know. They've admitted they don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they're not a huge threat to their goals.
Yeah. Also, I think they're going, whatever they find or are going after is going to help them in any confrontation that they have.
Yeah.
And that's why it surprised me that when Ford says, basically Ford's like, let's do for them what we did for Uk'otoa. I mean, not in those words, but the sentiment is based. Yeah. But attacking them in the open before they get to where they're going was not floated at all by anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Taliesin later says, you guys seem a little confused. And he tries to focus them. Well, at the same time, sort of in a roundabout way, pleading for the life of his former PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. They debate sending, and they decide to wait. Because they don't know who they're going to talk to.
Right.
Essek, Aedwulf, Astrid.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb said, I was thinking about talking to them. Do we think he has sending in his spell book now?
I think he does.
As part of his spell research that he was doing on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the ice zombie thing was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Because Caleb steals everything, gives the diamond to Jester, keeps the blue crystal and the money. No one challenged him on it.
Nope.
Which I love. But Bo is the one who tears open the mouth and puts her hand down the throat to get the glowy light.
Yeah.
Where she was the one reminding everybody of Dagon's warning to just leave shit alone and not scavenge. And I was just like, oh, it's a blue light sale on common sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Jester scries on them.
Yes, Dominic. that is an exact reason why he would have it. Yes. You can't hit your booty call up through your crush, so.
Well, I mean,
you can, but
depends on what you're aiming for. Yeah. But Jester scries on them, and they have a confrontation through the scrying orb.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide they're going to catch up, press through, because it's getting dark, there's a fire, we should be able to spot it.
Yeah.
And they do. Caleb sets up the tower.
Yep.
and we have a Forrester check-in.
Yes.
And
they chat. And I love that it's a Forrester moment, but it still involves Caleb. Because he offers her Caleb's necklace.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to re-gift you this thing that Caleb gave me.
Ultimately, it's from Caleb, but I'm giving it to you.
Yeah. But she messages the bounty hunter, Cortho. And Cortho says, he's in Darktow. And Travis has the shit.
Yeah.
He's like, we were there.
We were kicked out in less than 24 hours. Now, she also mentions that extraction is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just because he's at Darktow. I think he's in prison in Darktow. I think he's in prison there because of the ship blowing up. He blew up the ship. That's why Avantika knew what had happened. That's why it's tricky to get him out. If they had been arrested, they would have met him while they were there.
I had not considered that, but yeah.
So I think he's one of the Plain King's prisoners.
I mean, Darktow and the Plank King don't strike me as a place that they keep prisoners. It seems to be the penalty is banishment or death or trial by swimming past the giant dragon turtle.
Maybe.
So I don't know. And if Vandren was already either working against Uk'otoa or was still working for Uk'otoa at that point, then Vandren may have been working to stop his activities.
Yeah.
So again, Vandren may be a good guy.
Yeah.
When all is said and done. Yeah, he betrayed Vandren and Ford, but
I mean, well, yeah, Sabian maybe, or Sabian may be working for Uk'otoa, and because Vandren had stopped working for him, is why the ship blew up.
Yes, that is the other possibility. So yeah, and true to my prediction, the Mighty Nine, specifically Travis, let drop. Vess is dead.
Yeah.
And Dagon's like, but
if it makes you feel any better, we thought you already knew.
We have her we've been carrying her body with us. That doesn't make it sound any better. Love it when Ashley adds in little bits here and there. It's so good.
We also get a sending to Essek where we find out that he's nearby.
Yeah.
And they automatically assume, oh, is this like a Siberian guard post type thing? But I don't think it is.
No.
I think, again, going back to the possible echo reflection or just dunamancy, like, who better than the Dunamanic prodigy who's trying to prove himself for consecution to go up and figure this thing out?
Yeah.
I think this is.
Do you think he's consecuted?
That I'm not sure.
Because he did bring back the other beacon.
He's either newly consecuted, and this is like, okay, now prove yourself, prodigy.
Yeah.
Or it's prove yourself. If you figure this out, you get consecuted. So this is either the reward for having been or the test to get.
It's fair. Also, very important, we got confirmation Sprinkle is alive. Or at least Sprinkle is not undead. Oh, so good. I think Matt, at this point, is letting the Sprinkle stay alive so that every 6 to 12 episodes he can just laugh. Because something is hilarious. It's like, oh, Sprinkle. Oh. Yeah. So good. We get Caleb's private floor again.
Yep.
And a glimpse at his, what I'm calling the lover's chamber, where he and Astrid had at least one tryst, if not many.
Yeah.
And he speaks to her in a roundabout way.
He speaks.
Yes.
And there's some questions to that. And I talked to you a little bit about it. He may have been just speaking to her memory, talking to himself. He may have been speaking to himself. I really feel like there's a cognitive separation between who he was and who he is, between Bren and Caleb.
Yeah.
Or, going back to his sending in his book, now, the only reason I don't think so is because he's pretty elaborate in describing his spell, and he didn't do it.
And he also didn't say, I'm casting Ascending.
But he could have sent Ascending to Astrid, and the reason I do say that is because his conversation is exactly 25 words. What are we going to do about our home? Can I trust you? Should I trust you? We could make it better if you want to. Exactly 25 words.
Yeah. And maybe he has that sort of chambered for when he does.
Yeah.
So maybe he had actually written that out, counted it out.
Yeah.
Now I said, I think it's a coincidence that it's 25 words, but it may not be.
I think it was either a sending or a preparation to send. Mm-hmm. Is this sound right? Is this how I want to say it? I'm not going to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Like when you have that conversation over and over again in your head.
Yes. And Caleb's definitely the person that does that.
Yes.
Now, I noticed that on my rewatch, and I meant to point it out when we were doing show prep tonight, but we have it playing fast when we do show prep.
Yeah.
So it passed by before I could mention it. But Laura sort of runs over a look between Ashley and Marisha. And part of me wonders if Yabo is consummated, or if that's not their headcanon, and they will wait to do it sort of at the table, as it were, rather than they share this look, they're about to say something, this person interrupts, and then it's on to Caleb.
I think that's what happened, and I think they're just like, my headcanon is that their headcanon is, yes, it's consummated, and at some point we're just going to...
One of them's going to go to one of their rooms, knock on the door, and they're not going to be there.
Or the other one's going to answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Okay. And as Stoffinator, I think that is the most likely, is that he was rehearsing for when he does use Senti.
And then we had the big, dangerous encounter of the snow worm
Yes.
creature. Comes out, shrieks, stuns everybody, and then was gonna be laying the hurt on him. And Jester polymorphs it. It's a snow bunny.
From Monty Python.
Yeah, so good. So good. And I really... It's almost been... well, in this case, it was totally random, because it was whoever rolled highest is who it was going to go after.
Right.
But, like...
But the dice know.
Yeah, it's the third polymorphed creature that has attacked Ford.
The dice know.
There was the cow with the fire giants.
Yep.
The turtle with the stone giants, and now the rabbit.
The worm rabbit.
Well, rabbit and then turtle again. So yeah, I wonder if it's going to be the thing now.
I mean, these animals keep attacking Ford, and animals instinctively know when there's someone's evil. It all falls back in on itself.
It's good. But Jester keeps it from being a TPK or a half TPK, basically.
Yep.
I
love it. I've got a plan. What is it? Run away? Call the Doom Takers. Hey, wait!
I'm a Doom Taker now. Yeah. Oh, ye of little faith. Yeah, and they at the table gave Laura MVP.
Yeah.
And I don't think it can be disputed. But yeah, so good. Trying to think. Oh, so lots of problems in that fight, though. None of them, I don't think, mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But they're getting sloppy on remembering concentration.
Yeah.
Sam cast Voltaic Bolt, concentration. Levitate's concentration. One should have canceled the other.
Yep.
She missed on the shot, so it doesn't matter. And she took fall damage when levitation ended anyway.
Right.
And then there was the polymorph with the spiritual guardians. They're mutually exclusive.
She dropped right away.
Yeah.
So
she decided to drop. It's like, no.
You had no choice.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just we're getting close to going on a break. Maybe. I don't know. It was just...
Maybe.
But yeah.
So, for something I think is coming up soon.
Yeah.
The worm fight got me thinking about, because of just how clutch the polymorph was, what would be a good challenge for the Mighty Nine? I mean, you've got 3 full casters and 2 half casters. Well, there's
a caster.
No, there's these things, and this is why I was saying the almost no magic party of Tomb Takers. There's these things in the ruins called Aeorian Hunters. They all have magic resistance.
Mm.
Now, some of them take half damage from spells and can hurl the other half back at the caster.
Wow.
And then there's some that can counter healing spells and just basically reverse it. So instead of healing touch, it does inflict wounds. Instead of cure wounds, it does inflict wounds.
Wow.
Those would be good threats for the Mighty Nine, and I think we're going to see those soon as we're heading into Aor.
What CR are those?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Probably at least 7, right?
Yes.
Because if they're at least 7, you could do 2 or 3 against them. Although that worm seems to be a pretty hefty CR creature. And it's supposed to be one of the beefiest things up there. And Matt said, yeah, the probability of you guys running into this is gone up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. 12.
12 for one of them, yeah.
So one of those with a few ice elementals, possibly.
8 for the reverser, which is the one that changes the healing into inflict.
So it would be a tough fight if you put one of each.
And then the absorber that reflects is a 10. So an 8, a 10, and a 12 for the 3 different types.
That's a super deadly encounter.
Against 7 level 13s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it's 7 level 13s plus Dagon plus Essek, if he joins. Still going to be a tough one. But I don't think it'll be one of each altogether. It might be a 10 and an 8 together.
Yeah. And really it's not that bad because Veth, Ford, Bo, and Yasha all have magic weapons. So I still think we're going to see that Winter Wolf. The Winter Wolf of Winter Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
At some point. But I think that won't happen until they're closer to AR.
Okay.
I think Matt has... I kind of would like to see his nested tables here. Because he's got him rolling a d20, and then he's been having him roll a d8. And I think it's the d20 determines it's this kind of encounter, and the d8 determines what it is. So, like, I think the 14 that she rolled is an ambush encounter, and then the 1 is that thing.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, after watching the episode, I had some ideas for my Dustworm design for Oraku.
So they've pissed off a worm. They've pissed off a white dragon. They've pissed off a dragon turtle. They've pissed off a rock. 4 of them going to form the new Coma Conclave led by Professor Thaddeus. As an awakened owl.
I don't think so. Although I am also expecting that dragon.
The Nightmare in Ivory.
Yeah. To make an appearance.
Yeah.
Although maybe that doesn't happen unless they're further south.
True.
But yeah. Do you think they have chosen correctly, and that A2 is where he's headed instead of Aor proper?
Probably. I think Aor proper is the last.
Okay. I think they jumped the gun a little.
Yeah.
In the timing of, okay, well, let's get ahead of them. It should have been after there was no chance they were going to turn.
Yeah.
To head toward Aor. So that's why I'm a little worried that they might be wrong.
Okay.
From a narrative standpoint, it makes sense that the Tomb Takers are on a fetch quest of their own. And you get more of that Indiana Jones thing to play with. So I think it's probable that at least he's making one stop.
Yeah.
I think it was Quinn on YouTube said, I think we might be looking at a Traveler Con situation where it's going to be months before they actually confront Lucian again. And if it is a fetch quest to each location, I fear that may be correct.
Yeah. The other thing lending to that is Ford's backstory rearing its head. And not so much the Sabian, but, Avantika being up here. But also, okay, now we know about Sabian, and it just reinforces in my mind what we talked about several episodes ago now. That maybe Vandrin's on an island up here. And we may be running into Vandrin at some point.
Yeah. Or that the Storm Giants are pissed off because of the Ubatoa stuff that's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's all tied together. And I think we're going to get distracted by closing. Because we had a big Ford arc, but we didn't close the things on Ford's backstory.
Yeah.
And I think those are rearing its head here. Because I think Vandrin is up here. And I think... So it just reinforces, makes it a stronger hunch in my mind that, yeah, Vandrin's somewhere up here. Because, again, he never said he was on a tropical island.
Do you think Jester tries to scry on him?
On Vandrin?
Yeah.
Not unless they get some kind of clue that he's up here. They haven't taken any of the clues that we've jumped on. And unless Ford pushes about Sabian, or they get some kind of clue that Vandrin is up here, no.
Okay.
Because she's too preoccupied with the whole Molly Lucian thing.
Okay. So you don't think it's a Forrester moment that she goes after?
No.
Okay.
She hasn't been pursuing the moments.
No. Yeah.
They have been. Yeah. So I think she's at a point where she's letting it come to her.
Yeah. So next week, this Thursday there's no Critical Role, and next week we're gonna take the week off.
Yep.
My daughter's in town, so I have to work during the day, so I'll be taking the evening turn. Otherwise, we will be back the following Tuesday here on Twitch and Thursday on YouTube. Yeah, we'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.